It's the start of February 2026, and this is a great time of the year now to get all the wintering jobs that need to be done that we just don't have time to do over summer. For example, we've just cut down the raspberry canes. These were all raspberry canes sticking throughout this entire patch just here, and we've mulched that with well-rotted horse manure. We've had this allotment now for 5 years, but we've never had proper access to these raspberries. Reason being, this entire area from that's actually the gate to what used to be a chicken coop, which ran all along here, and that was the entrance to the chicken coop. So it was quite difficult to get to the raspberries. You know, we were sort of a bit squashed down here, so we just let the raspberries do their own thing. And last year's harvest wasn't great, or the years before, to be honest. So we've cut them down at the base, and some raspberries will fruit in the first year. So we might still have fruit this year, or they might fruit in the second year, and that's fine by us. We've just put all the canes here for now, and they need snipping and putting in the compost when we get around to that. So this old chicken coop is, well, potatoes bed. Second early potatoes and main crop potatoes is what we grow here, and they're planted in March, and we harvest them roughly September. And as soon as we harvest the potatoes, we've got the cabbage plants. These are winter Savoy cabbages as established plants. We sow them in June or July, I think, and the moment the potatoes are harvested, we pop the cabbages in, and they're looking okay, some better than others. Some of them have made nice tight heads. I think there's a couple of failures. There's a little failure here. That's not going to make anything edible, so we can just pull that one up. Leeks, same principle applies to leeks. They were sown earlier in the year, and as soon as potatoes were harvested, we popped them in. We've been so busy since we took this allotment that flowers have been a bit of an afterthought. But in September, we planted some daffodils, and I'm pleased to see they're coming up. We just planted them around the edge of these beds, so hopefully they'll be in bloom, springtime? We've also mulched the entire allotment in woodchip, and we put out a video on how we use woodchip in the allotment. We've got a tree surgeon who has an allotment, and he dumps woodchip for anyone to collect. There's so much woodchip, so we've taken about 5 or 6 of these builders bags, and that's how much it's took to mulch the entire allotment. Another winter job that needs doing, well, you can see Luke is busy snipping the hedges. That's the child labour area. If we don't keep on top of brambles over winter, and hawthorn as well, the hedges are all hawthorn, this is what can happen. Now, this is sort of the last remaining space in the allotment that needs tidying, but you can see what a mess it is. And these brambles here are coming in from the hedge, and this is what happens if you don't keep on top of it. You know, they will become very invasive. What brambles tend to do is, when they touch the ground, they will root into the ground and split in the middle, and that's how they end up multiplying. So we like to keep on top of that over winter if we can. These 4 beds here are empty at the moment, and another winter job is to mulch them. We've just put out a video on how we use well-rotted horse manure in the allotment. In that video, we start out at a farm, we collect some manure, and we bring it back and we spread it on one of the beds that we'll come to in a moment. These have not been mulched yet, but they need doing. These are old bed springs that we actually use to grow peas up, and that's Sabrina's idea. A great idea. She's full of great ideas like that, as we'll see in just a moment. And we've grown peas here for the last 3 or 4 years. These 4 beds we're coming to now are still productive. Brussels are coming to the end. There's still 1 or 2 reasonable sized ones. They're not great, but they're still edible. Here we have parsnips. The foliage has all died back, but the parsnips are still underground. We made a mistake with parsnips this year. Well, last year we were supposed to thin them out into singles, which we never got round to doing. Well, we forgot to do it, let's be honest, and they've all ended up being a clump of parsnips, which you shouldn't really have. They've got all knotted, but still edible. Winter radish in this bed, and swedes finally in this bed here. None of these beds have been mulched yet, so we need to mulch all of these with compost. All of our beds are no dig, so we just apply 1 layer of compost a year, preferably in winter. It's a great time of the year to do that. Okay, so this is an old greenhouse frame that we've covered in the chicken wire that came from the chicken coop that we've just showed you. This was another one of Sabrina's great ideas. We've used it as a blueberry cage. Actually, we went to pick up the glass from a guy on Facebook or FreeCycle. We needed the glass for our actual greenhouse because when we took over this allotment, the brambles had broke through the greenhouse and smashed about half the panes. So we just went to pick up the glass, and when we got there, the guy said, "Do you want the frame as well?" Well, we didn't really need it, but we took it, and this is what we've turned it into. So potting on blueberries is another winter job. Potting them on or just topping up the compost. This is an ericaceous compost. Blueberries need a special compost called ericaceous compost. It's either high or low pH levels, can't remember which one. But you can't just pop blueberries into normal compost, it'll kill them. So we need to get around to that over winter at some point. This is the compost area, and in our woodchip video I've just mentioned we did mulch this entire area. This area was covered in weeds and we just smothered it in woodchip. We didn't lay cardboard down, anything like that. You can see the height that we've smothered the woodchip with. It's about a good 6 or 7 inches there, and I guess we won't know if that's worked until late spring or summer when the weeds pop up, but this should be enough to squish the weeds. Another winter job is to turn the compost. So this compost actually was about this high not so long ago, and it does sink naturally as it turns into compost. So we need to get in there and turn that into this area here so we can start filling it up again for this year. So that's another winter job. You can see how there's no roof on this compost bay, and that's okay while it's making the compost, but when we turn it, we'll cover this with a sheet of tarpaulin. Okay, moving on to this side, we've got an apple tree. We bought 2 trees from, I think, B&M Bargains last year, and the other one was a cherry tree that we've planted next to the other cherry tree in the other half of the allotment. This is the apple tree. Bit lonely at the moment. I think we need to get a few more trees into this area, but we've mulched this with well-rotted horse manure. This is a strip of rhubarb crowns that were here when we took the allotment. They're very old, I think. They look big, the crowns themselves. Again, we've mulched that with well-rotted horse manure. This bed contains garlic, which we planted in October. One of our first videos was a garlic video, and we sowed it in that video in October. There's also a few beetroots left here from last April sowing. We're still harvesting them, and they've withstood the snow and the frost. We'll just pick them up, harvest them as and when we need them over the next few weeks. The last bed is empty, and these are purple sprouting broccoli, sown last July, and these are a great crop to harvest in April when there's not much else to harvest. So They do look a bit droopy at the moment. We've had an overnight frost, so things are looking a little bit sad and sorry for themselves at the moment, but they'll soon pick up. So none of these beds have been mulched yet, apart from this garlic bed here. And when we put out the horse manure video, this is the bed that we mulched. Also the apple tree and the rhubarb patch. Let's finally talk about salads. Well, salads, overwintering salads were sown in September, and ideally we would grow them in the polytunnel. We've got such a great space in this polytunnel, but we do have a little problem with it. It's got a rip on the top, and it does get quite humid inside, and we've tried to grow lettuce in the polytunnel over winter for the last few years, and it just rots and goes a bit moldy. So we've grown them in crates this year. There's a couple more crates just around the corner. They're looking a bit droopy because we have had a frost overnight. They're rock hard as well, but they'll be fine tomorrow or the next day. And if we ever do get a serious frost, we just put them in the polytunnel overnight. Another winter job is to clean the polytunnel, and we did that yesterday or the day before. We just used, this is just washing up liquid called E-Cover, and it's a plant-based, should be okay if it goes on the ground. So we've just washed that with soap and water, and we still need to do the roof and the inside. So another winter job. I think as far as winter jobs go, we're going to wrap it up there for today. I hope you've enjoyed having a look around the allotment, and we'll speak to you next time.